Okay. Uh, Sorry, but I literally have no idea uh what happened. And that's pretty true. Welcome. And thank you uh for your patience. I literally had to like close OBS, relog in. I had to like disconnect my OBS from like my account. Well, I was, in my mind, I was in the middle of something important, at least important to me. Whether important to anybody else. Uh, so I still have, one second. Now that I've reset my OBS, all my like windows are like messed up all over the place. But I still have it up. I still have your message. I'm gonna copy and paste it. And also thank you, Oily Olive. One sec. OBS. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Stream Elements. Now I'm live. Trying to adjust my windows as you see. Okay. That's decent for now. Okay. Yeah, super sorry about that. I literally have no idea what happened. Like, I thought I lost internet connection. And then I saw like, oh, I'm still getting chat messages. How can I still be getting chat messages? My internet, so internet wasn't disconnected. And I just saw like my OBS lost connection to something. Usually it reconnects to things automatically. But regardless, seems to be solved now. Apologies. Thank you for everyone's patience. Super appreciated. Super grateful. Okay, so yeah, I copy and pasted your message, Oily Olive. Maybe it's a self-esteem thing, but if alpha can be used in that way, it would weaken the toxic version of red pill definition, making a better option for men. Something I wanted to mention to help to guide them, so alpha attract them. I mean, so I can understand from what, let's say, you're saying, of like this is just like a marketing thing, of like this is more marketable to young men, which I don't disagree with. It's more palatable. What is it? A spoonful of sugar helps make the medicine go down. So if like, yeah, if rebranding let's say confidence as alpha, I guess, whatever. That's fine. But what you brought up earlier of like this aspect of confidence, I think you specifically said not letting the opinion of others affect you. And I would encourage everyone, not just men, but every human being, if possible, to cultivate healthy self-esteem, without getting too derailed on what exactly is healthy self-esteem. But there clearly is a range of healthy self-esteem, and part of that, okay, as I was about to touch upon, is like this aspect of like social evaluative concerns, not exclusive to girls. Second, just need to check other things. Okay, sorry. But yeah, on average, like I just went through, on average, girls and women, the way they're socialized, they might care too much uh, about the judgment of others specifically. But it's not only girls and women, like men, and can be socialized in that aspect too. We're just talking about averages, probability. And yeah, moving towards it's a balancing act. I don't think anyone should get to the place where they don't care about what anyone says about them. There are some people that you should care about their opinion. Certainly not everyone, and only you are in the best position to make that judgment call of if ever you're in a romantic relationship and you're getting feedback or constructive criticism from your partner, it's probably not a healthy response to be like, hey, I don't care about your opinions of me. It's probably a good thing to at least listen and understand where they're coming from. But the random stranger on the street, ideally, probably a good idea to not care about the opinions of strangers and their judgment of you. But these are difficult things to balance. But I would agree with you, Oily Olive, of hey, if you want to dress the way you want to dress, that makes you feel more comfortable, that makes you feel more like yourself, and that you're expressing yourself, that is true to who you are, then I would agree that should not be affected by the opinions of others. And ideally, yeah, definitely the opinions of strangers should have no bearing on what you choose to wear or not, provided you're just following the local laws. But aside from that, it's you should be free to wear what you want to wear, that expresses who you are, that ideally is not affected by strangers and people that you don't really care about. You asked me earlier what is good beta behavior and negative beta. Beta have low self-esteem, but they better with their emotion. Yeah, I understand these are your definition. I just, if they help you, then great. I would just say they're probably better concepts out there for you. And I think you might be, too focused on these concepts. But if you're finding them helpful, then who am I to criticize? So yeah, picking up where we left off, which again, I apologize for. The NCHA dataset is an unbalanced panel in which colleges drop in and out. Specifically, every college in the United States can voluntarily select into any wave of the NCHA survey and is not required to keep administering the survey in subsequent years. To account for compositional change to the panel, our preferred specification includes college fixed effects. The NCHA survey does not include any questions on social media use. Therefore, it is not possible for us to determine whether a particular survey respondent had a Facebook account. It is, however, possible to determine whether the college attended by the survey respondent had Facebook access at the time in which the respondent took the survey, in order to protect the privacy of the institutions that participate in the NCHA survey while still allowing us to carry out the analysis. The ACHA kindly agreed to provide us with a customized data set that includes a variable indicating the semester in which Facebook was rolled out at each college. Specifically, the ACHA adopted the following procedure. Merge our dataset containing the Facebook introduction dates to the NCHA dataset. Add a variable listing the semester in which Facebook was rolled out at each college. And strip away any information that could allow us to identify colleges, including the specific date in which Facebook was introduced at each college. So yeah, they go through some stats. In order to mitigate concerns about cherry-picking outcome variables, we consider all the questions. Okay, so it looks like they they assess everything in that NCHA survey, that they're not just, taking out the questions that, might bias the results. Let's see. Yes. Okay. So the index of depression symptoms includes questions that inquire as to whether a student exhibited various symptoms of depression, such as feeling hopeless, overwhelmed, exhausted, very sad, debilitatingly depressed, seriously considered committing suicide, or attempted suicide. The index of symptoms of other mental health conditions include questions that inquire as to whether a student experienced issues related to anorexia, anxiety disorder, bulimia, and seasonal affective disorder. The overall index of symptoms of poor mental health encompasses both sets of symptoms. The index of depression services require a slightly more detailed discussion due to a peculiarity in the way the questions were structured. Specifically, the NCHA survey asked 3 questions about depression-related services: whether the student was diagnosed with depression within the year prior to taking the survey, whether the student was in therapy for depression at the time in which she took the survey, and 3, whether the student was on antidepressants at the time in which she took the survey. The NCHA survey asked those questions only to students who had given an affirmative answer to a previous question inquiring as to whether they had ever been diagnosed with depression. Therefore, the variables related to the 3 questions above should be interpreted as having ever received a depression diagnosis, plus having received a depression diagnosis, or being in therapy depression, taking antidepressants, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So it's like, yeah. How they assess depression, their analyses. I'm not going to dissect their analyses. I'm not in a position to dissect this. Second. Betas can also be very homophobic, racist, sexist, etc. That's a negative form of it. They think attacking that make them alpha. If you're true to yourself, then you have those options. Ignorance is fine with all. Well, we all have it. It really isn't my definition, I guess. I just tried to understand it, and that was my conclusion. Yeah, at the very least, I think we're on the same page. That, being homophobic, racist, sexist, bigoted, transphobic, not good qualities to have. They go through some limitations. I'm not going to dissect those. Okay. Baseline results, index of poor mental health. So post Facebook. This table explores the effect of the introduction of Facebook at a college on student mental health. Specifically, it presents estimates of coefficient of beta from equation 1, with our index of poor mental health as the outcome variable. The index is standardized so that in the pre-period, it has a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. Column 1 estimates equation 1 without including controls. Column 2 estimates equation 1 including control. Column 3, our preferred specification, replaces Facebook expansion group fixed effects with college fixed effects. Column 4 includes linear time trends estimated at the Facebook expansion group level. Our controls consist of age squared, gender, indicators for year in school, indicators for race, and indicator for international student. Column 2 also includes indicators for geographic region of college. Such indicators are omitted in columns 3 and 4 because they are collinear, college fixed effects. For a detailed description of the outcome, treatment, and control variables, see online appendix table 8.3.1, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, so they're probably going to talk about this more in results. Or like in the discussion. Event study figures, yeah, not going to dissect here. Effects of Facebook in the index of poor mental health based on distance to from Facebook introduction. Okay, so it looks like here is where they're looking at pre and post introduction of Facebook. This figure overlays the event study plots constructed using 5 different estimators. Dynamic version of the blah blah blah. Okay, yeah. The figure displays only 2 post periods. So it's like, yeah, 1 and 2. Already treated units as controls. Busly is 2. Okay, so yeah, you know, it looks like they have a lot of data. You know, pre-Facebook, the event. Funny how they're calling it the event. And they're like, yeah. Only a little bit afterwards. Yeah, heterogeneity. So, summarizing the main results. I'm not going to dissect the methodology. A, I don't have time. B, not in the best position to dissect their statistical analyses. Okay, and the downstream effects on academic performance. It seems like, you know, across the board, overall negative effect. Okay, so mechanisms. This is almost certainly important. Recent scholarship identified 2 main channels whereby Facebook might directly affect mental health. Unfavorable social comparisons. Okay, so I think this really connects nicely with what I covered earlier. You know, the social evaluative concerns. Where, you know, we know that, you know, social comparison, or, you know, social evaluation, or too much emphasis on social evaluation has a detrimental effect on your mental health. And that's, like I said, you know, social media just exponentially expands the circle of social evaluation, or I guess your social evaluation circle, where it's basically, you know, the entire world, or virtually anyone that has, you know, access to social media. Disruptive internet use, another aspect. Another, albeit indirect, possibility is that the introduction of Facebook might lead to behavioral changes that in turn affect mental health. We present evidence related to each set of mechanisms in turn. Overall, our evidence is mostly consistent with the unfavorable social comparisons channel. So it's like they're highlighting the social comparison channel, as they explicitly say. We're really highlighting not this, but this. Like the social evaluative concerns appear to be the most important, or have the greatest effect, or the explanatory power. Most individuals who are alphas don't say it due to red pill negative form. Well, yeah, like I said, I would discourage anyone from using these terms of alpha or beta, personally. Facebook and other social media platforms make it easier for people to compare themselves to members of their social networks, right? Such social comparisons, if unfavorable, could be detrimental to users' self-esteem and mental health. Theoretically, the set of individuals who might be negatively affected by social comparisons is unclear, which is super interesting that they say that. Where it's like, who might be negatively affected by social comparisons? Is an open question, or as they say, that's unclear. You know, I went through this research, you know, on this very stream, and this research, you know, builds upon past research. This research was, you know, about trying to find out, oh, what are some of the pros, you know, the advantages, of caring too much, or having these, the emphasis on social evaluative concerns. And so they're building upon past research. As they said, well, most research that took place in the past, they just focused on the negative aspects of social evaluative concerns. And so in this research, we're going to try to look for some of the advantages. Maybe it might be adaptive, or a double-edged sword. by the more appropriate framing. So it's a surprise to me. And again, I'm not in the field, so maybe this is invalid research. Maybe there's huge criticisms or fundamental criticisms that make this research invalid, or like all the past research related to this is invalid. But if I obviously can't erase my memory, can't go back in time and have the question posed to me. But I would like to imagine, okay, I would hope that if it was posed to me, like whatever, 5-10 years ago, where the question was asked, oh, okay, like this new technology, it's gonna allow you to basically network with everyone around the world, and it'll just be, how do you describe like Facebook in neutral terms, or social media in neutral terms? How do you explain the power of social media without using the word social media? There's going to be like these internet applications or websites that will allow you to connect with users all across the world. Who do you think would be disproportionately affected by these technologies? I would like to think I would answer with the knowledge that I had at the time. It would be girls, or that would be women and girls. Because I already knew beforehand this aspect of social evaluative concerns, or generally speaking, the way that girls are socialized, they care more about the judgment of others. So with that in mind, it's a really surprise to me that presumably these psychological researchers, are they psychological researchers? What are the affiliations of these authors? Tel Aviv University. Well, okay, it looks like okay. Then I guess it's more understandable. These do not look like they are psychologists, and I guess I should clue in that this is published in the American Economic Review, so probably not psychologists. So I guess I should have the expectation that they're heavily trained in psychology. But even then, Jonathan Haidt is a psychologist, whatever, a social psychologist. That for what it's worth. But at the very least, they have extensive training in psychology. And so I would assume or hope that they are aware of this aspect of these social evaluative concerns. And yet I would say it doesn't seem to me like Jonathan Haidt is aware of it. Which is why I think, way more willing and makes the case that social media is causing the decrease in mental health of teens. What was that? Mechanisms. I remember I was going to train station, no one around, so I put a skirt on. The thought of being seen was too much and took it off. I find people see me in it. Thought of convergence there because if I tried to quit dysphoria, hit me. So thought that was a good option. Understanding alpha did help me. Also glad to do therapy since they do shock. Shock therapy is generally reserved, at least as far as I know, to severe cases of major depressive, and typically reserved as last resort. And I can understand that it's a struggle. Easier said than done to not care about the judgment from others. For sure, way easier said than done. And I definitely hope that you can get to a place where you feel comfortable in dressing the way that you feel most comfortable. That again, that allows you to express yourself the way that you want to express yourself. A simple model of social comparisons might posit that individuals compare themselves to the median member of their group along some dimension of interest, for example, popularity, wealth, or looks. If social media users are sophisticated, they will be able to extract accurate information from social media platforms about their relative ranking vis-a-vis their peers along the dimension of interest. In that case, we might expect around half of social media users to benefit from social comparisons and about half to suffer from them. Conversely, if social media users are prone, are to some extent naive, they will fail to understand that the content that their peers post on social media is likely to be highly curated rather than representative. In that case, they will systematically underestimate their relative ranking vis-a-vis their peers, and as a result, more than half of them will perceive social comparisons on Facebook as unfavorable. In this section, we present evidence showing that subpopulations, which, in virtue of their baseline characteristics, might be more likely to suffer from social comparisons, exhibit larger effects. The introduction of Facebook did not correct the students' misperceptions about their peers' social lives, and in some cases, exacerbated them. The latter piece of evidence is consistent with students exhibiting a degree of naivete in interpreting the information conveyed through social media. Figure 6 shows that the introduction of Facebook at a college affected more severely the mental health of students who might be more likely to be affected by unfavorable social comparisons. The figure plots estimates of the coefficient on the interaction between our treatment indicator and various moderators in a regression with our index of poor mental health as the outcome variable. Specifically, we consider the following subpopulation of students. So this is figure 6, heterogeneous effects as evidence of unfavorable social comparison. Okay, yeah, got it. This figure explores the mechanisms behind the effects of Facebook mental health. It presents estimates from a version of equation 1, which our treatment indicators interacted with a set of indicators for belonging to a certain subpopulation of students. The outcome variable is our overall index of poor mental health. The estimates are obtained using our preferred specification, namely the one including survey wave fixed effects, college fixed effects and controls, confidence intervals, standard errors. Okay, yeah. So specifically, we consider the following subpopulation of students. Again, I'm talking about this. Here are the subpopulation. Students who live off campus, so off-campus living, and are therefore less likely to participate in on-campus social life. Students who have weaker offline social networks as measured by not belonging to a fraternity or sorority organization. Students who have lower socioeconomic status as measured by carrying credit card debt or working part-time alongside study. And 4, students who are overweight. We generate an index of social comparisons based on the variables above and consider as an additional moderator an indicator that takes value 1 if a student is above the median value of the index of social comparisons. All of the point estimates are positive, and we find a strong and statistically significant effect on the index on students living off campus and on students with credit card debt. Consistent with social comparison mechanism, the introduction of Facebook has particularly detrimental effects on the mental health of students who might view themselves as comparing unfavorably. Yeah, surprising. I saw a House episode with a gay who appears straight due to shock therapy from therapy. Oh yeah, won't put too much stock in House. I hate women's shirts, only sleeve fit comfortable. Well, stream will be over basically. Yeah. So if you're able to resend the ABBA video, I don't think I have it up anymore. Or post in the Discord, and I'll save it for future stream. But my plan is basically to get through this research, and then that's basically it. Which there's just like 2 or 3 pages left. To test whether the introduction of Facebook affected the students' beliefs about their peers' social lives, we estimate the impact of the rollout of Facebook on all survey questions that elicit students' perceptions of their peers' drinking behavior. Specifically, we studied the following 3 sets of beliefs. Beliefs about the number of alcoholic drinks typical students. Okay, yeah, so like this is all about social comparison. And like, yeah, they assess pretty much typical drinking behavior and like, did Facebook affect beliefs about alcohol consumption because it led students to actually drink more, or did Facebook affect beliefs without a concurrent increase in drinking behaviors? Online appendix table A.19b shows that the effects on self-reported alcohol usage are substantially the effects on perception, suggesting that the effects on perceptions are unlikely to be driven by a change in if peers' behaviors did not change, why did Facebook affect perception? One option is that baseline perceptions were incorrect, and the additional information provided on Facebook corrected such misperceptions. An alternative explanation is that Facebook led students to update their beliefs without aligning them more closely to reality. Online appendix table A.21 shows that the introduction of Facebook at college did not lead students to develop more accurate perceptions about their peers' drinking behaviors, and for one of the outcomes, significantly exacerbated misperception. Specifically, the table estimates the effects on the difference between a student's perception of the alcohol consumption of the typical student at her college and the actual typical consumption at the student's college, calculated using self-reported alcohol usage in the student's college survey WAVE. The results are consistent with students failing to fully take into account the fact that the content they see on social media is curated rather than representative portrayal of their peers' lives. Such naivete could lead to distorted beliefs and exacerbate the effects of social comparison. So it's like, yeah, social media, or specifically in this research, Facebook is, contributing to kind of like a delusion, where it's like, as we all know, basically at this point, what you see on Facebook, what you see on Instagram, it's not reality, especially now in the age of filters, and, video and photo editing. Basically, as they say, you're getting curated content. And, understandably back then, this is the early days of Facebook. You probably don't recognize that it's curated content. And so you might fall into the trap of thinking this is reality. Okay, thank you for sending it. We're going to be watching that soon to wrap up. Yeah. The discussion and conclusion here. The second direct channel whereby social media may negatively affect mental health is disruptive internet use. Specifically, some scholars argue that social media use might disrupt concentration, impairs people's ability to focus, and lead to anxiety. We do not find significant evidence supporting the disruptive internet use channel. Main survey question that speaks to disruptive internet use asks students whether the internet or computer games affected their academic performance. Students could answer that the issue affected their academic performance, that they experienced the issue but did not affect their performance, that they did not experience the issue. If, after the introduction of Facebook at their college, students found the internet more distracting and had a hard time focusing because of it, we would expect a larger number of students to answer that they experienced the internet or computer games as an issue, and that it affected their academic performance. Online appendix table A.22 shows that the share of students experiencing internet or computer games as an issue increased by around 5%, but the effect is not statistically significant. And the other behaviors, the introduction of Facebook at a college might have led students to engage or refrain from engaging in a set of other behaviors that have some bearing on mental health. For instance, the rollout of Facebook might have popularized illicit drug use. Online appendix tables A.23, 24, and 26 present estimates of the effects of the introduction of Facebook using equation 1 on various offline behaviors measured in the survey that could plausibly affect mental health. Comfortingly, we do not find any effects on sexual assaults. Similarly, none of the outcomes related to relationships and drug use exhibit significant effects. Combined with the null results on drinking behaviors, we do not find much evidence that the introduction of Facebook at a college had meaningful effects on various self-reported behaviors that could have a bearing on mental health. So it's like, yeah, they're trying to find an alternative explanation as to why they're seeing this observed effect on mental health. And it looks like, they're attempting to control for it. Or like, yeah, alcohol, or rather drinking behavior, illicit drug use, basically showing no association. In this section, we elaborate on the extent to which our findings have the potential to inform our understanding of the effects of social media on mental health today. Over the last 2 decades, Facebook underwent a host of important changes. Such changes include the introduction of a personalized feed where posts are ranked by an algorithm, the growth of Facebook's user base from US college students to almost 3 billion active users around the globe, video often replacing images and text, increased usage of Facebook on mobile phones instead of computers, and the introduction of Facebook pages for brands, businesses, and organizations. The nature of the variation we are exploiting does not allow us to identify the impact of these features of social media. For instance, our estimates cannot shed light on whether the increased reliance on Facebook for news consumption has exacerbated or mitigated the effects of Facebook on mental health. Similarly, we cannot provide evidence as to whether years of experience with the platform mitigate or exacerbate the effects on mental health. Right. There's the age of the user. That also is a variable at play. I think there's a difference between, someone who's grown up in the age of Facebook, and, they don't know any better, as in from childhood to now. They have that access to Facebook, as opposed to someone like me. I know a life without Facebook, just like I know a life without cell phones or mobile phones, and I think that affects my relationship to these technology platforms. Despite these caveats, we believe the estimates presented in this paper are still highly relevant today for 2 main reasons. First, the mechanisms whereby social media use might affect mental health arguably relate to core features of social media platforms that have been present since inception and that remain integral parts of those platforms today. At their core, Facebook and similar platforms are online forums where individuals share information, often about themselves, including pictures, videos, and personal details. Even today, the most common primary reason for using social media is staying in touch with family and friends, in contrast to reading news stories or watching live streams. The ease with which one can access information about one's network, together with the fact that the content posted on social media is generally highly curated, might naturally invite social comparison, to the extent that the effects of Facebook on mental health at inception were at least partly driven by unfavorable social comparison. We would expect our findings to still be relevant today. Second, the mechanisms whereby Facebook use can affect mental health might have been exacerbated rather than mitigated by many of the technological changes undergone by Facebook and related platforms in the last 15 years. Individuals now receive information about their social network directly in their news feeds, and the information more relevant to them because it is ranked by an algorithm. The content on the platform is richer in that it often includes videos, and it can be accessed at any time or place using a smartphone. These changes might make Facebook even more engaged, might exacerbate the effects on mental health. So, to wrap up, in conclusion, in 2021, 4.3 billion individuals had a social media account, accounting for over half the world population and over 90% of internet users. The repercussions of the rise of social media are thus likely to be far-reaching. Yeah, definitely agree with that. In this paper, we leveraged the staggered introduction of Facebook across US colleges to estimate the impact of social media on mental health, and found that the introduction of Facebook at a college had a negative effect on student mental health. Our evidence points to unfavorable social comparisons as the leading mechanism. Doesn't surprise me. Like I said, the context of research like this, no surprise. Overall, our results are consistent with the hypothesis that social media might be partly responsible for the recent deterioration in mental health among teenagers and young adults. It is up to social media platforms, regulators, and future research to determine whether and how these effects can be. But yeah, this appears to be, as far as I can tell, but I'm not an economist. It seems to be pretty robust research. That they're doing their best to control for the appropriate variables. Second. They got this topic. Third group, alpha and beta are two of three groups. Got it. I just saw a reanalysis of money past 70K has diminishing returns. Find. So yeah, well, I should maybe. So I'm definitely familiar with Daniel Kahneman's research. Nobel Prize in economics, if I remember correctly. Where it's like, there's quite a bit of interesting research analyzing how income affects, happiness and well-being, or more specifically, happiness and life satisfaction. Where it's like, as you kind of like point out, after a certain threshold, it doesn't seem like money contributes all that much, if at all, to your happiness. But it seems to be a little bit different when it comes to life satisfaction, as in there does appear to be, some further increases in life satisfaction as your income increases. But I don't know how robust that finding is. But I do generally operate under the principle that, like, you basically, you need enough income to obviously live and meet your needs, and some expendable income to kind of like do the things that you want to do, and probably nothing like too fancy. I grew up just essentially, yes, same. I am glad that I know a life without internet. I'm glad that my childhood was like, basically filled with playing outside, and that smartphones and internet, not a thing. Just as I'm glad that I know a life without smartphones. And so, like, I think I'm generally better at, like, putting my smartphone away, like, disconnecting from it. Because, like, to me, it's not the end of the world. When I'm with close friends, or with, romantic partners, like, I'm spending face-to-face time with them, like, my phone is off somewhere else. People that I spend time with in real life face-to-face, they have my undivided attention. Or at least I try to put in, a concerted effort that they have my undivided attention. So, wrapping up, gonna watch the video that you linked, Oily Olive. Yeah, absolutely. I would encourage everyone, as I've, have it up? Doesn't look like I do have it up. But, there is this concept of, basically snubbing someone with your phone. I think putting the phone away when appropriate has two benefits. One, the psychological benefit to you as a person, and the psychological benefit, whoever you're interacting with. Having your phone out, just like affects the dynamic. Thank you so much for the kind words. I don't take that for granted, so I'm super grateful. Basically, curiosity is what motivated it. Although credit to Bob Marley. I already have looked into the research on social media, or rather, the research wasn't foreign to me. But Bob Marley posted this specific study in the Discord. And so, like, I was, I guess, the ultimate source of inspiration. But I was aware of this research beforehand. And, I was clearly, looking into beforehand how, generally speaking, the differences between how, boys and girls, men and women are socialized. And, and this aspect of social comparison is something that's not new to me. Like you probably can't see it, but like if I go on my folder, again, you probably can't make it out, but like this paper was added in 2019. This is pre-streaming. This is just research that I looked into, driven by my own curiosity. Because like these are the things I just ask. I go down rabbit holes just for my own curiosity. Where it's like, yeah, there are reasons why, generally speaking, on average, it looks like girls and women, at least as they're developing, their self-esteem appears to be lower. And I use the word appear here, not in reality. I don't think when it comes to kind of like low self-esteem, I think girls and boys are largely have equal issues and challenges with self-esteem. It just manifests differently. No, don't need you to resend it. I think I have it.
Welcome back. So I know I'm in the hockey room. This is a discussion I've been wanting to have, and I want to have it in the quieter.
This is. I think you need to resend it because like this is definitely not an ABBA and Preach video. I remember you saying that the ABBA and Preach was 15 minutes. I definitely do not want to watch a half-hour video on alpha versus beta. Personally, you can totally post in Discord, and I'll probably watch it at some point. But yeah, I probably need the ABBA and Preach one. If you want me to watch that. Yeah, I understand it fits the topic more. But I think you wanted me to specifically look at an ABBA and Preach video. But I'm definitely not going to watch the 29 minutes on this. At least not now. I can save it for a future stream. But I don't have type admin. Okay, no problem.
Wine.
Okay,
the
Mr.
only
Beast.
way you hate on it this hard is because you don't do in your own life. What it does is it reflects in them their own inadequacies in life, because they want to frame themselves as the people who help the downtrodden, not realizing they never take individual steps themselves. They only complain about the system. So they see someone doing a real tangible change, and rather than celebrating it, even though it's affecting them, like thousands of lives of people who are struggling, they want to be like, no, because it would mean that they would have to take accountability in their own lives and to do action, but they don't want to.
Starting with this controversy and massive growing backlash against YouTuber and entrepreneur Mr. Beast, following him putting out a video where he donated 20,000 pairs of shoes to kids in South Africa, with Jimmy at one point in the video even saying these were their first ever pair of shoes. And while many people's reaction to this was, wow, stuff like this, it restores my faith in humanity, we're seeing good being done in the world, you also had a big growing group of people questioning the philanthropy behind all this, saying things like,
Yeah, I definitely. First of all, I know Mr. Beast. Well, who doesn't at this point? I think they're like the biggest YouTuber when it comes to subscriber count. And like I definitely read some of the headlines of like, the backlash to this. Basically, at the end of the day, like whatever, do I really care? Mr. Beast can do whatever he wants to do. What I would say, at least for me personally, overall he's doing a good thing, but like he can do the good thing without turning it into content.
this isn't really charity, saying he's using needy people as props to make himself look like the good guy. Tweets going viral saying, let me know when y'all catch up and realize how weird this motherfucker is. But in general, those criticizing Mr. Beast and the content, right, they were talking about the nature and incentives of charity content. Right, with a number of those people arguing there are plenty of wealthy people who do public acts of service, but quote, don't frame that work as weird voyeuristic stunts. And others adding, so weird that 20,000 children need to rely on a rich white man from the West to have their basic needs met and get their faces plastered on the internet so he can earn clout. But to that, you had others who support the content saying, no, he's making this content not only to inspire others to do the same, but also by making that content, he's able to foot the bill. With MrBeast even responding to one of his critics, saying, no hate, you probably just haven't seen this channel, but actually it is a charity, and I obviously don't profit from it. 100% of all revenue from Beast Philanthropy goes towards running my food banks and helping ease human suffering, and since inception, I've personally put in millions into Beast Philanthropy. That's the whole point. Make content around helping people to generate more money to help more people.
Like, this is so similar to the last thing. Somebody said that. Imagine a rich white man having to go there. And why aren't the South Africans providing for these young people? Why aren't our governments providing people the ability to see again with a cheap eye surgery? There's gaps in the world. There's holes in places. And there are people like MrBeast who are willing to go and help those people. And I think it's so fascinating that it's never the people that are helped that are complaining. It's everyone else. It's the people who generally have no history or no track record of volunteerism or any kind of philanthropy themselves. They want to sit there from their little Twitter accounts and say all kinds of crazy stuff. But I ask, what kind of engagement have you been involved in, even on a small level that's accessible to you? And generally the answer is very little. And I think this is probably one of the things I hate the most about leftists in particular, is that they always cry about systemic change and systemic this, not realizing that they have agency in their own lives to affect change on a community and local level. And what they do is, instead of actually making any effort to make tangible changes, they just sit there and twiddle their thumbs on Twitter. You know, say what you want about right-wing people, but I actually see religious folks taking missionary trips to go help people. Even if I don't agree with those all the time, at least they put in boots on the ground or taking their time out of their
I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with, let's say, some of what he's framing. Of like, yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on, you know, systemic institutional changes among leftist circles. I am part of these circles. I consider myself as part of that group, very heavily part of that group. You know, very, very extremely, you know, radically left. And I agree. There's largely too much emphasis on just systemic change and institutional change, which, like, yeah, those things need to happen. But that there is a place for individual action. I don't think you can just throw your hands up in the air and say, you know, I can do nothing until there's these systemic institutional changes. I agree. That is a disempowering message. Just as, okay, as again, I say many times before, and get the message across. You know, I have a chronic illness. I have Crohn's disease. I would never say to a fellow patient, okay, who's struggling with the condition, where, like, you know, even in the Canadian healthcare system, there are changes that need to happen. That there are real problems with our healthcare system and our healthcare infrastructure and access to it. I would never say to a fellow patient, you know, who's struggling with that system, say like, oh yeah, you just gotta wait for the healthcare system to be better. That is a disempowering message. I'll be like, okay, what do you have access to now? What are the changes that you can make in your life now that may be beneficial to you or that we can try out? I would never want to instill hopelessness into another person. And I would agree that too much emphasis on institutional and systemic change is potentially disempowering.
year to go and try to help people in a tangible way. They run the stuff in their local communities to help people in a tangible way. It's very rarely the left-leaning people. All they want to do is protest and cry about systemic issues. You know, and you can sit there and be like, why is the white man? Why don't you ask yourself, why isn't the black government providing that to those kids over there in South Africa? Because let me tell you, a lot of issues with South African government exist today. And it ain't white people running that country. So I just think it's interesting that the people who are helped are never the ones complaining. It's always the people on the outside who don't even do 1/3 of the work. Go ahead.
I'm not going to go and be like, oh, it's not, like, especially in South Africa, it's like black people running this country because South Africa has a history of systemic whatever and white people setting them back, whatever. I'm not.
What I find, let's say, I don't know if this is intentional or not, you know, part of the charm of the channel. But it's funny that, like, you know, they're a really large YouTube channel, but they can't solve their creaky floor.
I'm not going to go into that. But anyways, I'm not going to be whatever. That's
But
not,
you can't bring it up. You can't bring it up and say I'm not gonna go with that. You brought it up, so you did. You can't say I'm not gonna mention this counterpoint and then not go into it.
No, I said I'm not.
Like I don't know, it's just so strange to me. Like they're like 2 million subscribers. This is 500,000 views. Like I imagine they make a considerable amount of revenue. And like it sounds like you're just like in a rickety old shack doing these videos.
And I'm not, and I choose not to.
Okay, well then I will counter that by saying you can say that, but their government is entirely black. And even though there is a history of apartheid that has affected the country, there is no doubt that there is a tremendous amount of corruption by black individuals. So you can't be mentioning the white part.
See, exactly.
No, because here's why I did that. Because you said it and just try to walk away from it.
Because it was the reason why I didn't go into depth to that. Is that you didn't go into depth to that. What you just did right now was explain why. When you first mentioned it, you just mentioned it like that. It's like it's not all that. There's more information to add to that. So that's why I'm not gonna go into that because.
I assume they don't. Clearly, it's probably not affecting the amount of views, but it definitely stands out like a year. I've heard of it. It's definitely like something in my brain is going off. But I probably can't. Yeah, basically. I don't know exactly what it is. Just that I've heard it.
Because you didn't say everything. Now you did. Yes, okay. You take in consideration that yes, there is systemic issues that happened with the government in the past that put them in this place, and now you put a context around that. So now we could go into that, but you just did. You know what I mean? But I was not about to touch that because you didn't explain it fully, and now me saying that triggered you into explaining everything in a context into that. Because just saying that, oh well, you know what? It's black people running the country and they should do something about it, and then running off of that doesn't explain the whole context about that. If you put in what's the word? If you put in the corruption and if you put in all the issues that there is and how it's set up, then it makes more sense. That's why I didn't want to go there, because it was not all said.
I don't know, the creaky floor is so funny to me.
But it's not even part of the conversation. Also, it's not the whole thing about the conversation.
No, but people are trying to frame it as a white man from the West coming in to fuck shit up. And the reason why I said that is like, it's not white folks who are fucking this shit up right now for black folks in a lot of Africa. That's a lot of our own people. And that's something that we have to be accountable for. So this narrative that whiteness is the majority of the issue. Don't get me wrong. There's places where Western intervention has fucked up certain countries, and that's absolutely true. But how you gonna blame a white individual helping out the locals when the black governments who have the power to do so choose their own family lineage and their own wealth as a means to perpetuate their wealth rather than helping the people? So that's what I was just going against. I just thought the comment was deflected, but we can agree to disagree.
No, we agree. I'm not a fan of those things wherever I've always said that whenever you give and then you don't give your consent to people, they don't give their consent and then you film them and you give. And I don't think that this is the case, right? He's helping people.
Like, I don't know. Like, obviously, I'm a nobody content creator. All I can say is, like, if I was ever as big as them, which that never is gonna happen, but like, if I was like making a video like this with that amount of that big of an audience, like that would drive me like crazy. If like, if I have the ability to produce something high quality and I just don't, it's like, yeah, I just find it like super curious. Whereas like, again, I'm a nobody. I'm not in any way a serious content creator. But like, if I'm in the position to make improvements to the stream, like I would generally like do it. Where it's like I generally know where like I need to improve, or at least I can make some improvements to the stream. Or like I know that I lack emotes, like for sure. I know that I can up the camera quality. I do want to invest in a better mic at some point. Although I think the mic that I have now is pretty decent. I know I can make improvements. Where it's like, even if now, I had this rickety creaking noise in my content. If ever I'm big enough to like solve that issue, like I'm solving it.
And he's not making money out of that. Yeah, but but it's a white man. Why is it a white man? My issue with that is I feel like we can never win. Because the same people that are saying on Twitter, well, why is a white man going, are the same people that are turning around and looking at Elon Musk and looking at Bezos and say like, why don't you help all those countries? and then you got one guy that actually helps those countries, and you still got something to say. So if Elon and Bezos, it makes me think that if Elon and Bezos will turn around and help those countries, you would be like, white people helping those countries. Like, I feel like that's what will happen. You actually have a guy that has the power to do something, and he has the money, and he actually does it. What you've been saying, and what people and what the left has been complaining about for a couple of past years, and how you finally have one dude that does it. But not only is he does it like giving away money, but he does it in a way that he can actually make money to help other people. Like, he makes this thing not viable, and you're still not happy. So I feel like this is never, the issue is not all those rich people making money and not helping the poor. I don't think the issue, what your issue is with that. I don't think your issue is that white men helping. No, you want issues. You want issues to complain about.
I would say this. I think it goes a step further. I think when people see folks engaging in this kind of philanthropy and not doing things on a systemic level, what it does is it reflects in them their own inadequacies in life. Because they want to frame themselves as the people who help the downtrodden, not realizing they never take individual steps themselves. They only complain about the system. So they see someone doing a real tangible change, and rather than celebrating it, even though it's affecting them, like thousands of lives of people who are struggling, they want to be like, no, because it would mean that they would have to take accountability in their own lives and to do action, but they don't want to. That's what it is. That's what it is. The only way you hate on it this hard is because you don't do shit in your own life. Because anybody who actually helps other people in their communities would never talk like this. If you volunteered at a soup kitchen, if you've done community work, you understand how much it changes the lives of the individuals there. So for you to sit there and complain about it, I know you ain't done shit in life.
And the thing about it is that you're gonna be like, yeah, but why don't you help the system? Why don't you help the system? Knowing damn well it takes more than that, and you could only do so. One dude can only do so much.
Yeah, I mean, I understand they're, not the most serious, but as far as I can tell, this is like their main whatever source of income. I could be totally wrong. I'm definitely not super familiar with Abbott and Preach, but I think this is supposed to be like their bread and butter kind of like content. So I find it just like a little bit strange, at least for me personally, like the way I approach things. If it's something that I care about, like I just want to do it well. And I try to like take pride in the things that I do that I care about. But that's just like me personally. It's just else, yeah, I can understand that whatever they might want. You can maintain the aesthetics of like being small, as in like this background. Like, I don't think anything needs to change for their background because it doesn't really affect like anything. But like that floor like really has an audible effect. Yeah, I don't disagree there either. That's pretty. Like I definitely can respect the amount of effort that he puts into his content, and clearly earned his way to #1 on YouTube. But I have no doubt there's probably some sort of cost to that amount of effort.
And when you start to want to help the whole system, when you're one guy or one organization, that's where you lose money.
True.
That's where you lose money. All those companies that are taking people's money, right, and saying that they're gonna name them, UNICEF, Oxfam. They go out there, they use your money because they want to help a system or whatever at a bigger scale, right? What happens? Most of that money that you give, like 70 to 80% of what you give, goes out into administration.
True.
So
true. Having worked at those charities, I can tell you that's absolutely true. 70 to 80%.
Is it not more?
It's not just Red Cross and stuff like that. I can't remember.
UNICEF?
What's the one here in Canada that's really popular?
Red Cross.
No, the one that does all kinds of charities. It's like a big one. It does like fundraising for a bunch of different little charities, but it's a big one that takes care of all. Do you remember that?
No.
I mean, they're not wrong. There's definitely good and bad charities on their websites. Devoted, ranking, Give Well is I think a pretty good one in terms of top charities where like if you want to make sure so to speak, you're getting the best bang for your buck when you donate. Websites like this, givewell.org, is a pretty good way to assess whether giving to kind of like a good, quote, good or bad charity. Yeah, I'm not sure which one they're thinking of. Yeah, shout out is to GiveWell for sure. I think more people need to be sort of conscientious of their charity.
Okay, sorry, keep going.
But that's the thing is that when you try to work at a big, if you know a little bit about that and you work in those, if you've worked in this industry, because at the end of the day it is, you know how it works. You know that a lot of it is, all the money is really, a lot of the money is wasted.
Yeah.
A lot of money is wasted. Go ahead.
I'll also say this: anybody who says he's doing this for clout, I'm like, bitch, you ain't seen his videos. The ones that have nothing to do with philanthropy are some of the biggest videos in the world. The idea that he needs this to further his own reputation and his own clout, he's already the biggest YouTuber in the world. How does the philanthropy stuff is a necessity is beyond me. He doesn't need to do this. This is something he's choosing to do.
Yeah, and he waited until he was famous to do it. Yeah. And then some people actually, on the point that if you play the video again, you would, like, a lot of people are. Go ahead.
No, what were you saying?
Because what he was about to say is that a lot of people are going to in his past videos and saying, like, look how he's done that.
Though with that, you still had people questioning Mr. Beast's intent, which is really a hard argument to have because you can never really see inside of someone's heart, inside of someone's soul. And there, you actually had critics going back to some of Mr. Beast's early charity content, with him finding and posting clips like this.
Absolutely. I think I'm on the same page as you. That's pretty true. Where it's like I have mixed feelings about charity as well, as in like so I give to charity. But whatever. It's just like I have it programmed where just like money is withdrawn from my account every month. Like it's not like some crazy amount. But at the same time, like I would like to move to a place where we don't need charity. Where like if charities exist, that means like something is not being met. That should be met. That like the more ideal society is the one that doesn't need to rely on charity, to feed people, to house people, to clothe people. I think there are much better ways to allocate resources. But at the same time, I still give to charity. Some good is better than no good is my operating principle. But I definitely have mixed feelings. And also at the same time, I don't like kind of the mentality that's kind of cultivated when it comes to like charity and giving. We often give rewards and recognition to people that make large donations to charity, or the big philanthropists. And I think that is potentially problematic because it highlights as giving to charity or philanthropy as like some sort of exceptional thing, of like, oh, in the absence of like rewards and recognition, people wouldn't give to charity. But I think in the context of the society where like, oh, you need to be rewarded in order to give to charity, that like disincentivizes or like creates a culture against charity giving.
Most people get mad and say this is a bad way to get views. Tell them like you're okay with this. Are you okay with it?
Hell yeah.
That's right.
Best day of my life right here.
Homeless people don't care if I use them for views.
They're taking that video and they're saying that's the thing that he does in the back. That's the thing. That's the stuff that he did in the back and in the past, and he's the same way now.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad person.
You guys really do not believe in evolution. You cannot understand or believe that someone can evolve. Like what I did 10 years, like I know like my mind is really everywhere when I speak about those stuff because there's so much stuff that comes in. You're the same people that can't forgive Chris Brown. What he did back then is the same dude until he dies, and you can't forgive him. But the same people say, no, I believe in rehabilitation and we shouldn't kill people. And now this shit happened. Yep. This shouldn't happen, and you really don't think that people should evolve. Same thing with Chris Brown. When this shit happened, he was 9.
Well, so I'm all about rehabilitation and people, second chances. But but I see no evidence. Not that I don't follow closely Chris Brown, but I see no evidence of any sort of evolution. As far as I could tell, Chris Brown is the same a-hole he was 10 years ago that he is today. Which I understand, and I don't. There's nothing special about it. That's the thing. It's the fact that we think, to me, being selfless and wanting to help, that is the default state. I think that is more closer to our human nature. And I think we've just like shifted the paradigm of like, oh, this person's giving to charity, there must be like something extra special. There's nothing extra special. There's nothing to congratulate. Some heroes need charity because, yeah, I agree. That's the reality now. But I don't think it always has to be that way.
19. Now he's 30. He still cannot get a break.
I mean,
You're
to
the-
be fair to them, Chris has engaged in some weird behavior over the years.
I can understand.
It's hard to say he's evolved.
I can understand that, and I agree.
I'm not
At least he recognizes it.
I'm not a lover or hater of him, but it's not like this dude, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but every time in the past couple of years, the only time I was hearing about his Chris Brown is people referencing the thing that he did when he was
True.
19.
As bad as what Chris Brown did, Rihanna's a billionaire.
I think you're essentially, as far as I can tell, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're kind of like alluding to kind of like people who are gaming the system, so to speak. Like, people who apply for welfare, they get it, but they don't technically need it, type of thing. They're kind of like gaming the system.
But she can be.
I'm just saying that's part of her journey. That's what she needs to go through to be.
You stupid.
What you mean?
You stupid. But that's the thing is that the same people.
Maybe one of them hits activated the billionaire gene. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. At 19, I would take a beating too if it meant I become a billionaire. I'm just saying.
But you're the people that the same people that want people to forgive and forget. No, you need to forgive because it's not good to hold grudges. And then you are doing that. You're holding grudges.
It's like 50. If
It's just like you're reminding me of other research.
50 never got shot, would he be as big as he is today? Many men. Like, if he never had that, would he have been as rich as he is today? I don't know. And if you ask him, would you give up them shots for the rich? I don't think he would.
I don't think he would.
I don't think he would. Sometimes you got to go through some fucked up shit. I'm just saying.
Though with that, you saw many people defending Mr. Beast, saying, this is over 5 years ago, and arguing things like his understanding and sensitivity about the people featured in his content has likely evolved.
Okay, so that's the gist of it. I don't know. To me, whether it's somebody regaining their eyesight, like, listen, having good footwear, especially you have to understand, in large parts of Africa, there are no paved roads. There's a lot of trash in places, glass on the floor. I remember, like, a lot of the walls are actually just lined up with broken glass. You get what I'm trying to say? Like, there's a lot of hazardous stuff on the floor. So kids having access to good footwear can preserve their feet. And you need your feet, especially in Africa, because, nigga, you gonna walk. You're gonna walk on some rough surfaces, some bad spots, and you see a lot of people get foot infections. They end up having to chop things off, or they end up getting hurt, and they can't do the things that they need to do. So, I think it's a great initiative. I think these kinds of initiatives are very admirable. And I think considering the landscape of content nowadays, which is very self-centered, buying Bugattis, buying a bunch of other dumb shit that's completely frivolous and nonsensical, you can't do that. It's okay. These things are not necessarily bad. What I'm trying to say is this is a nice counterbalance. It's nice to see this kind of stuff. And if people are doing good, even if it is for their own self-interest, I don't care, because we need more good in the world. Too many people are struggling financially. Too many people are hurting from a housing standpoint, from a health standpoint, from an accessibility standpoint to basic fucking goods. If YouTubers want to use their hard-earned money to create a system in which they can help, even if it's 1,000 people or 100 people or 10 people, I think it's a beautiful thing. So that's where I stand on this. Cool. Anything else you want to say? You don't want to give a shout out to Mr. Beast?
Shout out, Mr. Beast. I was going to give a shout out to Mr. Beast.
Oh, maybe there's something you want to say on the topic. So I was just giving you a shout.
No. I said what I said. It's just they're never happy.
All right, pin comment. Maybe study the complex of the white savior. The miss on this one. How about your African? Go ask our brothers and sisters how they feel about it. Moreover, that's not really the help we need. A single African I ever met who is truly struggling would ever say white savior helping. Privilege, different. Y'all are comfortable talking ish about the skin color people. Yeah. Yes. Have abandoned their own people to foreign powers on their or their own self-interest. I will never get mad at a white man giving eyesight to my fellow Africans to get to see again. Our own people have abandoned them to darkness, and I should be mad at a white man giving them the ability to see again. Get out of here. If you are upset, ask yourself how Our leaders and their families have accumulated billions in wealth, while so many of our people starve. White savior. Joke. Yeah, fair. So, last thing I'm gonna wrap up with before rating out. So, there are many reasons why I kind of push back against economics, or economic theory. But yeah, I'll probably do a future stream on like altruism, and like I think I've covered it before, but to bring it to charity. That's why it's like the way we're socialized around charity, the framework in which charity operates, of like giving to charity is some sort of like exceptional thing, where it's like people receive recognition, rewards, plaques. They have buildings named after them. They have whatever streets named after them. Statues put up for their philanthropic work, because it's like, we prop up philanthropy and giving to charity, or basically altruistic, as something exceptional. It's like, we're supposed to be selfish, and then only in the context of everyone being selfish is like the selfish person, the selfless person recognized. That is like, this person has the ability to be selfless. We need to reward that, because nobody would be selfless without recognition, plaques, dinners, ceremonies, blah blah blah. Whereas they say here in this paper, standard economic and evolutionary models assume that humans are fundamentally selfish. On this view, any acts of pro-sociality, such as cooperation, giving to charity, and other forms of altruism result from covert attempts to avoid social injunctions against selfishness. And obviously I'm not going to go through this entire paper. I may have covered it before on stream, but there's a wealth of research devoted to altruism and altruistic behavior. And I would say the research is pretty clear that we are more wired to be selfless, and to give to charity, to want to help our fellow neighbor, than we are to be selfish, or to be fundamentally selfish. And there's research, just going into childhood, showing that it's like children's altruistic being context, where altruist, and the desire to help others, I would say that is our default mode of being, and it's that default mode of being that is socialized and deconditioned out of us through the social messaging of like economic and evolutionary messaging, that you're like fundamentally selfish. I would say you are not fundamentally selfish. I would say our default way of being is to be the complete opposite of that. That is what maybe a teaser for your future stream. So yeah, we're gonna rate out. Let's see at this time if there's anybody to rate out to. Probably not many. Or actually, no, I think we'll rate out into Zonia. Zonia is streaming. It's giving to a homeless person charity. I agree with you. Motivation for a statue. That should not be your motivation to give to a homeless person. But yeah, with that, I want to thank everyone for passing by. That's pretty true. Oily Olive, always a pleasure. Oily Olive, thank you for the gift subs. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the video. Thank you, Yahweh, for the gifted subs. I think this is the most gifted subs that I've ever had. I had Hype Train. I don't think I've ever had a Hype Train, ever. So I'm super grateful, super appreciative for all the support. I can't thank you enough. And it just motivates me more to hopefully bring more and more good content. But yeah, that's going to be it for this. Thank you, Bob Marley, also, for everything that you provide, the research, and for passing by. And anybody else that I forgot to mention, apologize. But yeah, everyone, thank you for passing by and all your support. Super grateful. Can't thank you enough. And we are going to raid into Zonia. Gonna get that set up. So yeah, next time I should be streaming. Gonna be on Wednesday. Typical fitness and workout stream. Yeah, definitely don't need a plaque. Yeah. So if you're not following Zonia, you should be. And until next time, take care, be well, and be kind. Yeah, until Wednesday, my next workout stream.
Yeah, they're talking about medical transition. They're talking about hormone intervention in children. Hey, Corey.